What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and we are here on the SEC channel at the Voice of College Football, previewing the 2022 schedules for each SEC team, and Arkansas is up next. Arkansas was a bit of a surprise team this past season. I think a lot of people expected them to be a good team, a bowl team, but they wound up doing better than that, challenging Alabama, playing them tough, and really just having a great season. So we're going to preview the 2022 schedule here in this video. And before we get to 2022, let's look back at 2021. This was the schedule for 2021 for Arkansas, and you can see it was a schedule that had Texas in the non-conference. And other than that, that was about it. You had Rice, Georgia Southern, and Arkansas Pine Bluff. So one tough, what we thought was going to be a tough non-conference game. And remember, when they beat Texas, the way that they beat them, everyone thought, wow, this Arkansas team is for real. Beat Texas A&M, and then you really, we're looking at this team as being a special team possibly, but then they were blown out by Georgia, lose a close game to Ole Miss, lose to Auburn, 3 in a row, and then they finished pretty strong there, winning 4 out of 5, with that one loss coming in a close loss to Alabama. So an 8-4 regular season record for Arkansas in 2021. Here is the schedule for 2022. As you look at the schedule, before we go game by game, let's look at who they play outside of the division, because obviously they're going to play every team in the SEC West. So outside of the division, they'll play Cincinnati, they will play Missouri State, and they will play Liberty at home. Then they'll also play BYU on the road. So a challenging non-conference schedule, but not a brutal non-conference schedule. Cincinnati, I don't think most people expect them to be anywhere near where they were last season, but still a quality team. BYU has a lot coming back, plus you have to go out west, play that game on the road. That's going to be a pretty tough game, and even Liberty is a challenging game. So no, they don't have a big-time top 10 opponent on their schedule unless Cincinnati or BYU wind up being top 10 teams. But you have 3 quality teams, Cincinnati, BYU, Liberty. That's a pretty tough non-conference schedule. As far as their cross-division games, they'll get South Carolina at home, and they'll play Missouri on the road. Now, Missouri expects figures to be down towards the bottom of the East. South Carolina is kind of a wild card. They finished really strong. You got Spencer Rattler coming in, so how good will they be? I think the good news for Arkansas is that they at least get that game at home, but that could be a challenge there as well. So let's go back to the schedule here. They will open up on September the 3rd with that home game against Cincinnati. Big game to start off the season. Again, Cincinnati doesn't figure to be a top 10 team this year with everything that they're losing, but they could still be a quality team. Arkansas getting that game at home, though, you got to like their chances. Then they'll play South Carolina after that. So right out of the gate, 2 challenging games. They don't get an easy cupcake game to start off the season. They go from Cincinnati to South Carolina, an SEC game at home there on September 10th. That will be a tough matchup as well. Gets a little easier after that. They play Missouri State. And then they finish up the month of September with a game against Texas A&M in Arlington, of course, and that should be a huge game this year. When you look at the SEC West, I think most people expect Alabama, or at least they're the preseason favorite. Arkansas and Texas A&M, I think, both have a legitimate chance to finish number 2 in that division. And you never know. I mean, they could possibly even win the division, but looking at a very realistic shot of finishing number 2 in that division, I think both these teams are. And so that's a huge game early in the year. And that was the game last year when Arkansas beat Texas A&M. We started to recognize that this team, this program, had turned the corner. This was a legitimate team now. And we'll see if they can do it 2 years in a row with a big game there against Texas A&M. And then after that, it's Alabama. So this schedule is it's brutal to start off. You got Alabama there on October the 1st. Then they follow that up with a road game against Mississippi State and another road game against BYU before getting their first bye week. So when you look at their first 7 games on this schedule, and we could go even further because there really are no breaks on the schedule. But when you look at those first 7 games with no bye week, you got Cincinnati, you've got South Carolina, you got Alabama, Texas A&M, on the road at Mississippi State, on the road at BYU. That is a very challenging schedule. They do get the bye week, but then you look at the rest of the schedule after the bye week, it's still tough. You've got Auburn on the road, team that beat Arkansas last year, and then a Liberty team that, again, should be a decent team. I think Arkansas will be favored in that one, but you never know. And then you've got LSU at home, Ole Miss at home. Tough games, but at least they're at home. And then they close out with a road game against Missouri. So there really just are no easy wins on the schedule outside of Missouri State, maybe Liberty. But other than that, Missouri's probably their next toughest, or next easiest game, I should say. And that's a road game in the SEC. So this is a very difficult schedule. Right now, that Missouri game is marked for the 26th on a Saturday. They've been playing on Fridays. I don't know if that's going to move or what the deal is with that. But if you look at the schedule right now, it does say the 26th. But yes, a very, very tough schedule for Arkansas. But a lot of winnable games. It's an interesting schedule because outside of Alabama, they've got a legitimate chance to win every game on this schedule. And who knows, at home, maybe they can even knock off Alabama. So a lot of winnable games, but a lot of tough games as well. So it's going to be a very interesting season for Arkansas. A lot of games that could really go either way. It's probably going to come down to whether or not this team can win some close games. But again, a very tough schedule for Arkansas coming up in 2022.